Hello!
Hey, everybody.
Hey. How's everybody doing today?
Guys, looking good. Looking real good. Talking to you, the audience, as I point at Connor.
Welcome back to You'll Like 'Em, the podcast where we talk about music, movies, and anything, really.
Yeah, so it's really just tangent, Blade Runner, tangent.
Exactly.
Blade Runner.
yeah, a lot of Blade Runner recently. So, my dad still hasn't... No, I'm just kidding. Let's just get down to brass tacks, I guess.
All right, man.
Let's start, because we have been neglecting our music recommendations.
We have.
We've been a little lax on that. So I think we should just right off the bat get started with that.
Yeah. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Well, mine's is an older band.
Mine is also an older band.
Okay. When was your band formed?
1965. Yours came before. The Moody Blues are older, right?
I'd have to look it up because I'm not 100% sure.
What kind of fan are you?
I know, because
disgusting.
Like
gross.
Days of Future Past was 67, but they also had an album that came out before that, which was completely different. Didn't have Justin Hayward and John Lodge on it.
If anybody could get from that little teaser there, if they know what that is, we're very proud of you. And this is the exact show you should be listening to.
I'm going to look it up while you talk about The Doors.
All right. Well, spoiler alert. Mine is The Doors. Yeah. Okay. So before I get into like my huge, utter, almost obsession.
64.
Oh, okay. Then never mind. You go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Well,
you already started.
Okay. So if we have any listeners out there who listen to classic rock, or any listeners who started out in classic rock and then went into indie like I have and other things, a lot of them have kind of abandoned the Doors because they just look at Jim Morrison's lyrics like, oh, he's just this fucking crazy drunk like stoner psychedelic madman speaking madness that doesn't make any sense. And my counter argument is that yeah. But you could say the exact same thing for literally every band that came out of the 60s, including the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, even Bob Dylan, etc., etc. And so my thing is what I love about The Doors is that it was the counter music to the counter culture, if that makes any sense. Because when we think about the 60s, for people at our age, we think of like free love, peace, yada yada yada, the summer of love, hippies, and all that shit. But like what we kind of like forget is like the dark seated like evilness that like occurred out of it. Like, there was a huge war going on that like lasted for like almost 15 years. The drug rise or drug abuse was on the rise. I know it's all fun to fantasize, smoking weed. I'm not saying like don't do that or whatever, but like, heroin became like a huge addiction during the 60s and all that shit. And what I think like The Doors music represents is the madness and the anger and the angst of that culture. Not, The Doors do have some like lovey-dovey sort of songs, like a little bit more slow stuff, but I think there's an underlining hauntingly beautiful or like insane beauty just to the lyrics of what that man wrote. And that's what I love about it, because it is such an outlier to most of everything you hear from the 60s. That's why I love it. And no, I mean, shit, man. My recommendation is for if there's anybody out there who does, you should know The Doors. Who, if you're into classic rock, the biggest songs they made were "Break On Through the Other Side," "L.A. Woman," "The End," which is my favorite song, and the list literally goes on.
"Light My Fire,"
which was their huge one.
Yeah.
And my recommendation is not just listen to their albums, but like listen to their live stuff, because their live stuff, I would argue, is almost better than like their actual studio stuff.
Like their early live stuff.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading, like I was telling you in the last episode, I read that like biography on Jim Morrison, which I erroneously called an autobiography.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, oh, wait, no, he didn't write that. But they were talking about, is it the soft, it was either Waiting for the Sun or the Soft Parade, which was the one that had Touch Me on it.
The Soft Parade.
Soft Parade?
Yeah.
So they went to go perform that, and they were doing Touch Me in a concert, and like the crowd were screaming and like, we're gonna hear the end, we're gonna hear Light My Fire, and Jim Morrison stopped and he like sat down on the stage, grabbed the microphone. He's like, "Do you guys not understand what we are doing here?" He's like, "We are making music, and you guys are just shitting all over." And he like broke down on stage.
And like that's one thing that like sucks. And like I can see where like, you know, people would see that and like be like, "Oh, Jim, what an asshole." But like the problem is like honestly we're the fans, because they kind of looked at Jim Morrison as this drunken clown that was there to entertain them, and all they wanted to hear was Light My Fire, the hits. They wanted to see him roll around, scream, and do all that shit. But like in the reality was like they were artists, and they were trying to perform their art, and like because of the fans, it kind of like, you know, ruined that sometimes, you know, and that's what sucks, you know. But what I would say with the live stuff, like the stuff that's fucking tremendous, is when they would do like songs that are like, you know, Break On Through, or like Soul Kitchen or Light My Fire, that are really only like 6 to 2 minutes long, and they just fucking jam it out, and Jim is just doing his beat poetry and just like adds like a whole new other level and a whole new mystic world to it. That's what I love. And like, you know, that's what I even love with like listening to Bob Dylan, is because it is different from the record, and you're getting like an almost another or new layer to it.
I mean, and that's what's like a lot of bands at that time, you know, they would take like, and I'd not ever, will never, ever, ever, ever compare Grateful Dead to the Doors.
Oh yeah, the Grateful Dead, they kind of mastered the playing their songs
because like, I mean, that was just drug fueled.
Yeah, that was they are like top jam band, like that's what Grateful Dead is.
But like there's the song Dark Star, which is like 2 minutes long, and then there's the famous Live Dead album version, which is like they add an extra 20 minutes of jamming onto it. It's great. Like I think it's incredible, and like, but I mean, it's all like I said, just probably every single one of them is just fucked up out of their minds.
Oh, and don't get me wrong, Jim Morrison and the Doors, that is like most certainly an artist and a band that you have to like separate the art from the artist, because Jim Morrison, like he did actually have like a fair dose of being a drunken asshole, like cheating on his girlfriend Pam for like years, marrying a witch in New York, and just like, you know, drinking himself to death, like, you know. But like
they did do like a lot of harder stuff than just drinking.
Like psychedelics, like fucking taking psychedelics while you're getting drunk and like all that shit.
I mean, isn't it like the scene in the movie where they all take like acid?
Yeah, they go acid
in the desert.
And they trip in the desert. Yeah. Which the movie is very good.
It's sensationalized.
Yeah, it's sensationalized. Like it does a good job at getting the essence of what the Doors were. But like, if you want to, my most
Val Kilmer does play a good Jim Morrison.
Plays a really good Jim Morrison. I love him as Jim. And I love Oliver Stone. Like Oliver Stone's films can be really great, or they can just be really awful.
Yeah.
But like if anybody wants the best and most honest viewpoint of the Doors and what they were, is watch When You're Strange, which is a documentary about their entire history, and it is narrated by Johnny Depp. And like hearing Johnny Depp like read Jim Morrison's poetry is fucking awesome. Like just his voice, like it's just really cool. And like they read like a lot of his letters and like all this stuff. And like
he could, I think if he was young, when he was younger, he could have done a Jim Morrison.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, fucking well. Now he's just
now he's his own drunken bastard.
Yeah, he's become Jim. Yeah.
But yeah, in short, like, you know, my viewpoint on Jim Morrison is that he is just a tragic figure in general. Like, you know, he is, like, in my opinion, the king of the Forever 27 Club.
Yeah, and that the 27 Club kills me, and it's not just because they're all so young. It's the fact that like all these, well, most of them. I mean, there's like the guy from Badfinger who like I feel bad for him because like I like some Badfinger tracks, but who gives like. If you talk about the 27 Club and you're like, oh yeah, Janis Joplin, Hendrix, Morrison, Brian Jones, and then like you talk about the guy from Badfinger and people are like, who?
And then they'll be like, oh yeah, that song Baby Blue at the end of Breaking Bad, and then like that's it.
or Day by Day.
Day by Day, yeah.
Or No Matter What You, which I thought was a Beatles cover for the longest time.
Well, that's the joke, right? Like, there, you remember Harry Partridge, right? You love Harry Partridge.
Yeah.
The Beatles rock band, the Oasis rock band.
Oasis rock band, and then it's like, also with Badfinger and XTC. Because we talked about it. I recommended XTC, and then I brought that cartoon up.
I love Harry Partridge.
Yeah, he's great.
But yeah, my recommendations is my two favorite, or I'll give you three. The first studio album, The Doors, Soft Parade, and LA Woman. Those are my three favorite, and they only have 6 albums, so go figure. Yeah. Well, they have 8, but like The Doors recorded 2 albums after Jim Morrison died, which are Other Voices and Full Circle. Those are fine. Like it's just
isn't one of them just like them recording the music and then taking like recordings of Jim just reading his poetry?
That's American Prayer. American Prayer I consider a part of like The Doors like album history. That's a great album. That's like if you want like just straight Morrison, like that's an album to listen to. That one's really, really good.
Yeah.
And the book's really good too. I have like all of his books, all of his poem books, and I think they're really good. And like I see Jim Morrison as more as of a writer before I see him as like a singer.
Well, that's it. Like on his gravestone, he's the American poet. Isn't it?
Yeah. I used to have that poster of him like this, naked. Or not naked with his shirt off. I said American poet, and I loved it.
He
great man. But fucking speaking
of handsome man.
Oh God, you don't think I'd let him rail me? Are you kidding me? I love women, but like you give me the chance, I'll let him ruin me.
All through high school, I used to sit in the bus with my friends, and I was like, God, if I was a gay man in the '60s, I would have just gone with Jim Morrison. Because like the book I was reading was like they were talking to like his college roommates and stuff, and they were like, I'm pretty sure he had homosexual experiences in college.
I mean, it was the '60s. I wouldn't be surprised.
And apparently he used to be real fat.
Yeah, there's a really funny interview where he's talking about it's like, yeah, man, I just love to be fat like that. Like I hate being skinny. Like he got skinny because he was homeless for like a while.
He just like he did like a shit ton of drugs and like fasted. And wrote all his poetry.
And that's where Jimbo comes from. Is when he gets fat on Morrison Hotel, which is a great album as well. And then he gets fat again on LA Woman and then dies. But fucking, I can hear some progressive rock coming all the way from the past.
Yes.
Which I would say, if the Doors continued on, if Jim didn't die, they would probably become a progressive rock band.
I argue right. So I like to do lists of musicians, right?
Yeah.
So for a while back I went, I'm gonna make a list of greatest progressive rock like guitarists and singers.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I'm not just gonna let it be like, oh, these are my favorites. I was like, I'm gonna have a criteria, and like I was like doing research on a lot of these bands. Like I was like looking up different progressive rock bands through history, like from like all the way to the '60s to like even now. And I was even looking at like psychedelic bands because I would argue there are some Doors albums that are progressive rock.
Absolutely.
You even look at like their lengthier tracks, like the 2 11-minute long tracks they do.
Yeah,
like,
the end and when the music's over.
Those are borderline prog.
Even Not to Touch the Earth, which is like 8 minutes long.
Is it?
Yeah, it's.
I thought it was like 3 minutes long.
Nah,
because I've got like the version of the greatest hits, and that's like only.
I think it's shorter on the greatest hits. I think that's like a radio version.
Okay.
But like, well, I mean, most certainly when they would play it live within the like the full thing is called Celebration of the Lizard King.
Yes.
And it's like in segments, and like Not to Touch the Earth is part of the segment. So yeah, arguably it's actually much longer. It's almost like 20 minutes long.
Even that.
Yeah.
I think that's off of the album, not that's off the album. Is that Soft Parade or is that
no,
Waiting for the Sun?
Celebration of the Not to Touch the Earth is off of Waiting for the Sun, but like Celebration of the Lizard King, I think there's only like live versions of that.
Yeah. But like there's because I think LA Woman, like I was looking up and it's like that is considered at times like prog. Even the title track, which has like the Mr. Mojo Rising, and then speeds up and it gets into it.
I have the Doors LA Woman 40th anniversary, and I think I knew this, but I like just completely forgot. There's a second disc, and it is just the alternate versions and just other studio recordings. And the alternate version of LA Woman is like much longer than the one that got released. So yeah, you're exactly right on that.
But like no, because I considered I put. For the guitarist list, I threw in Robbie Krieger.
Yeah.
And like I consider like if a musician does like jazz or like jazz fusion, then that goes into the prog vein. So and apparently he's done like some jazz fusion outside the Doors. So I was like, okay. But and then like Hendrix, I would say there are times Hendrix got a little proggy.
Yeah. Especially just because of the movements and like different changes into the music.
I mean, the Electric Ladyland has some very prog, like the
Absolutely.
opening track.
Yeah.
My dad, I remember when I was in like either middle school, high school, I was like, "Who is Jimi Hendrix's father?" And he pulled out Electric Ladyland with the
Got down on one knee and put his little hand on your head and was like, "Son, I've been waiting for you to say that in my entire life."
and he pulled out this album, the German cover of Electric Ladyland. Have you ever seen that?
Is that the one with all the naked women?
All the naked women
Yeah.
that literally just went out in the street and they were like, "Hey, can you you want to come pose naked?"
For Jimi Hendrix.
Because like he hated that album cover, and you know, when I was younger, I was like, "Oh, naked ladies," and then I went back to it and I was like, "These are not the prettiest ladies."
No,
on the planet."
and I think
it was the '60s too.
and,
So
and,
like,
and that's what I guess what's admirable about it is like they're all just typical women. You know, there's some boobies that are pretty saggy, but like, you know, half of them are dad or grandmothers by now.
yeah, that's always weird.
Isn't that great?
Like I told you about I think I mentioned this in an earlier episode. There's Peter Banks, who was the original guitarist for Yes. After he left, he got fired. He made his own band called Flash, which is like Yes.
That.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned it on an earlier episode.
Did you really?
You don't listen.
I don't remember. I've been drinking, just like Jim.
But it's like Yes Light essentially.
Okay.
They sound like the bassist has like very distorted bass, like Chris Squire. The lead singer's got like a really weird voice, not like bad weird. It's just very like almost theatrical, and it just sounds and like an English accent, so it sounds kind of weird. I mean, it's not terrible, but they're first album covers. The first one is in upskirt shot of a woman, and it's just called Flash.
Nice.
And then the second one's called In the Can, and it's just a shot of a tit with like hair drooped over it. We definitely talked about this on the first episode, because that's when we went at inappropriate album covers.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
and it just you look at stuff like that and you're like that's an old boob now.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, you know, of course, me and Connor most certainly support women and the Me Too movement and everything in between. But just to talk honestly here, because we're heterosexual men who have seen pornography, have you ever noticed like an old Playboy's like 70s boobs are like way pointier, and then like the 80s and 90s it got more round. Like 80s boobs are like circles, or like they're almost like pancakes, and then like 90 boobs are a little bit smaller. Am I just weird? Am I just a freak because like I noticed that?
Why'd you bring that up?
I don't know, because it's like a thing. Like we were just talking about naked women on covers. Like
it's just because I was trying to transition, and then I got stuck on that, and then we just oh god.
I look. I support women more than men. I'll kill Connor to make a woman president. Connor, I don't want to kill you.
No,
I don't want to be like Harvey Weinstein. They can't take my career away from me. Oh man!
Well, you cut that out.
No, we don't. No, we don't even cut any of that out.
Turn it into Brooks.
yeah. Speaking of which, we're recording at 100 years, or Ben's by default is.
Liam was here and he left.
Yeah,
I don't know where he went, but we're recording. We're using his soundboard.
Yeah, very kind of him.
Yes. We're trying to get a better setup, because we did get a new mic, and we have a digital soundboard, but it's been wonky recently, so we're just trying to figure out what to do with that. To go back, we were taking a piss out of like Badfinger and that and Oasis, and Oasis were in a documentary. Well, Noel Gallagher was in a documentary I was watching on prog rock. Yeah, and it was great because it was Bill Bailey was the comedian, who is like a famous English comedian. Like short, fat guy, bald, but like with like long hair at the back and a beard. He was in the comedy series Black Books, which was done by the same guy who does Father Ted and the IT Crowd.
You told me about this.
Yeah. And it's like, I think it's essentially like his favorite prog rock bands, but it started out because he was like talking about it, and he showed like interviews with like Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer, who were a comedy duo from England. They were like really weird humor, like really like out there.
Hell yeah.
And just like other prog figures, and like there was one guy that they kept cutting to, and it was like prog rock fan, and it was like, I wonder if it's just a guy they found on the street, or like a friend of Bill Bailey's or someone in the show.
Hey, do you like progressive rock? Yes, I do. Come on in.
But they cut at one point to Noel Gallagher, and he was like, I fucking hate prog. And then they cut to the last one, which was the number 1 spot, which was Pink Floyd, and he was like, oh, I love Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd prog? I didn't know that. And then he's like, I could fucking tell you, The Wall, man, that's my shit. I could fucking sing that till you start to finish, but I'd have to be drunk. and I'd have to be listening to it. And I was like, you just need to fuck off.
Yeah. Pink Floyd, I didn't know they were prog. I would say
no, they are.
No, they most certainly are. If they're not the kings of prog, they're at least a duke or something.
I think the king is King Crimson.
Yeah, well, yeah. Speaking of which, you know that anime JoJo that Zach fucking loves? There's a King Crimson character.
Yeah.
Literally
I know.
just named King Crimson.
I know there's like a lot of like classic rock and prog rock and like 80s rock bands and pop bands that they take names from. And they have like the closing. I don't know about the opening, but the closing theme used to be Roundabout.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
have you never seen that meme online where it would, like something was about to happen and it would just freeze, like go to like sepia tone, and it would say "to be continued"?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that what that is?
That's from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay.
That's Zach. That's the only reason Zach knows that. So he'd be like, "Hey, Roundabout by Yes." He'd be like, "Oh yeah, that JoJo song." So like, I'm at least happy. I went to MagFest this year, sorry, and I wore my Yes shirt for the sole reason of having people
define JoJo fans.
Yeah. And just kind of be like, oh yeah, you should listen to their music. Yeah. But and then one time, like, so I had 2 interactions wearing that shirt. One guy went, "Oh yeah, man, yes." And I was like, yeah, do you watch JoJo? And he was like, what? And he was like, no, I just like Yes. And so we just started having a conversation.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how the Drama album with Trevor Horn and Jeff Downes from the Buggles is really underrated. That people fucking hate it because it had Trevor Horn and Jeff Downes from the Buggles. And then another guy came up to me and got the reaction I was looking for. And he was like, you wearing a Yes shirt? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, are you wearing that because of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? I was like, well, I love Yes. I said, so I like to wear it to like MagFest to see if anyone goes like, oh, it's the band that does the JoJo song. And he was like, well, I'll be honest. He's like, I found them because I was listening to anime music on Spotify, and that came up. And I was like, that's from JoJo. And then I started listening to them, and they're pretty good. And I was like, fuck yes, they are.
So your whole thing was, I'm a big dork. I'm going to go into the sea of big dorks and prove that I'm the biggest dork out of all of them.
Be like, I don't watch anime, but I listen to bands with songs that have albums with 4 tracks that go on one side of each vinyl.
You all think you're here because this is obscure things for the obscure things you love. Well, I'm the most obscure son of a bitch in the world. Connor Harris.
Do you guys know who Barry Palmer is? You don't know who Barry Palmer is? I'm the only motherfucker in this place that knows who Barry Palmer is from Triumvirate and Mike Oldfield. Suck it.
And that's when they all begin to walk away.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you Fragile was like one of, if not the first albums I ever bought?
Really?
Or I didn't buy, but I got for free. Because it was like in a bin at my school's drama department.
Oh, yeah.
And like they were like, oh, we're not using these anymore. And I was like, let me just see what they have. And that was like the first thing they had. And I was like, well, fuck yes. And then fucking Garrett.
Wow, why would you say fuck yes?
Well, no, it was more of like, fuck yes.
Or like, fuck yeah, say that.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And then there was a Chick Corea one that I wanted, and Garrett fucking took it and then broke it.
What was it? Was it like
it was like a
Forever?
No, it was like someone I'd never heard of.
Oh, okay.
It was like a later one, but I don't know.
Yeah, go listen to Yes.
Yeah.
Yes are a great band.
Great band.
They formed.
That was not the band you were going to recommend, though.
They formed in like 67 or something like that, and I actually took a history of rock and roll class up at Carroll Community. Mm-hmm. I think who's the guy that's what's the name of the guy that's doing the rock and roll ensemble?
Matt.
He was the guy.
Oh, okay,
cool.
Like
tall, blonde hair.
Yeah.
He was the one that taught it. And
I like Matt. He's cool.
Yeah, I did too. And we would like talk about music like sometimes after class. And I not an argument, but like a kind of small debate with him about prog rock, because he said, "Well, the first prog rock band ever was Yes," and I was like, "Well, no, that's not true." I was like, he said, if we're arguing semantics here, the first band that is considered prog rock was King Crimson. I said, with 1969's In the Court of the Crimson King. And he was like, nah, King Crimson weren't like really prog until like Adrian Belew came in 81. I was like, are you fucking kidding? I was like, no. I was like, Crimson were the kings of prog. I was like, they're literally
in their name.
King Crimson.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no, Yes was like, their first album came out in 67. I was like, they were a psychedelic band when that came out. I was like, they weren't, it's like saying Pink Floyd were the first, because their first tracks in like 64, Arnold Lane.
Yeah.
Or whenever Arnold.
And that's like extremely psychedelic.
Yeah, they're the first prog rock band. And like, they were complete into psychedelia, like, because of Syd Barrett, like, who I love dearly.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace, Sid. But let me get to the band I was going to recommend.
Yes.
Formed in 1964, a young group of lads from somewhere in England. Listen, I love the band, but I don't know where the fuck they were formed in England. Wanted to form an R&B group, so they called themselves the Moody Blues.
Yeah.
Which I think's a song. Like Moody Blues is a song.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they got it.
Isn't it a Billie Holiday song?
I don't know.
I feel like it's a really old like jazz blues
I think so
song.
too, because but they formed with, I forget the bassist name, but he went on to play with someone else, and Denny Lane from Wings, the guitarist for Wings, Paul McCartney and Wings, the original guitarist for Paul McCartney and Wings.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's
his career went
or
good.
bassist rather. I think he played bass for them, but he was the original singer and guitarist. And their first album, which is called The Magnificent Moodies, is okay.
Yeah.
It's like, I got their greatest hits like years back on like iTunes, and I remember I was like, I'm gonna listen to this first track called Go Now, and then it's just this, we've already said dun 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 goodbye, and I was like, this is not
that's very
Moody Blues.
That's very like what they call that, like candy pop or whatever.
It's, like, they wanted to be like R&B, like,
Yeah.
but it just it's like 65 is when it came out, so the recording's not the best quality, and just like 2 years later, just listening to the difference in sound quality alone, and just like the overall like genres, it's completely bizarre. Like, so that was them. They were like this like R&B like group when they started, and then the bassist and the lead singer left.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Mike Pinder on keyboards, Graham Edge on drums, and Ray Thomas on flute and woodwind and stuff like that. And I think also harmonica. I think he started on that too. But like, he obviously knew how to play flute. Like, he didn't just like, I'll learn flute just for, in case we go in a different direction. And then they play Synad, and they got that's what it was. Justin Hayward auditioned for... he auditioned for someone really famous who was like Eric Burdon. He auditioned to play with Eric Burdon.
Oh, wow.
And Eric Burdon was like, nah, I'm not digging this. And he was friends with Mike Pinder. And he was like, hey, well, he was not digging it. He was just like, I don't know if I could work with this guy. Like, it's not really the same style I'm going for. He's a little softer vocals. He was like, you might listen like this guy, and give him Mike Pinder. Mike Pinder called him and got a hold of him. And then they got their friend John Lodge to be like, hey, do you want to come in as bassist? And he was like, yeah, okay. So then they all formed, started to do the same kind of stuff, like in like 65, 66, like that kind of R&B style.
Yeah.
And they were like, this isn't working. Mike Pinder was like, hey, I'm working at this new factory that makes these keyboard things. They're called Mellotrons. And I got one. Let's try it out.
Oh, fuck yeah, the Mellotron.
Yeah, I loved it. For people who don't know, the Mellotron was a really primitive, like, taped
synth sort of thing.
Yeah, it was like it relied on like taped samples of like
instruments and stuff.
Of like strings and horns and like vocals and stuff like that, so that when you play it, it was like this really like for the string section, like you do like two strings, one string, but
there's a really good, not to cut you off, there's a really good video. I don't know what it's from. I think it's some sort of like I don't know, mini concert he did, but there's a really good video of Paul McCartney playing the Mellotron and like discussing it and talking about it. And like he was talking about like, yeah, this was supposed to replace bands like Us in like clubs and stuff, so that a piano player can just come up and like play stuff. And he was like hitting keys on it, and it was like playing drums and like playing like guitar. He's like, you can see it went really, really well.
But like, I mean, Mellotron, I still love the Mellotron. Like, I think it's a really cool instrument.
It's very unique. It's very the combination of analog and digital, essentially.
And like Moody Blues like pioneered the Mellotron.
Yeah.
Like Mike Pinder on that. Like he fucking like brought it in, like, and it was like very new when he got a hold of it. And he started using it on like their next album, Days of Future Past, which had apparently they got in touch with the London I forget what it was, London Festival Orchestra or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, we wanna I'm gonna oh, hold on, I got a text. I'm gonna text this person back while I talk. But they apparently got in touch with them and were like, hey, we want to record an album. And they were like, well, what kind of music do you do? And they were like, we're kind of like a rock band. And they were like, oh, well, we don't know. I don't know if we want to do that. And they were like, well, we want to record a rock version of this famous composition.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, I mean, I suppose we can do that. And then saw this documentary I was watching, Mike Pinder, who's the guy who like recites all the poems, like breathe deep, the gathering gloom. And he lives in America now. He has an American accent, and it actually crushes my soul because like
that'll be you one day.
Oh god!
But like me, you're all slowly becoming me in the group. I can tell. Like it's happening. All the signs are there.
Oh no.
It's not too bad.
No, I love you, my man.
But it'll get way worse.
But like to hear like that beautiful like smooth English accent go to like, and he's like, yes, I hear it in the supermarket sometime, and I still love to hear it. And I'm like, oh, Mike. But he was like, yeah, we got in the studio, and they let us in. They thought we were going to record this classical piece, and we just kind of locked the doors, and we were like, this is what we're going to do now. But
no one's getting out of here alive.
I'm really interested in like finding out more about that, because they went to this orchestra and they like gave them like the melodies and stuff for these songs, and like, can you be like play around with that and like make it orchestral. And it's a really wonderful album. It's a concept album about just like a day, like the stuff that happens to everybody over the course of a day. Just like the dawn, there's a track called like Dawn, Morning, Lunch break, peak hour, which is great because I was singing along to it in the bus, and the kids were like, "It's sound," because they have English accents, so they were like, "It sounds like they're singing about Pikachu." It's like Pika, Pika.
That's awesome.
But so there's that one. Then there's Afternoon.
You play music for your kids on the bus.
Yeah,
you are fucking Otto. You are Otto from The Simpsons. Playing progressive rock for a bunch of kids on a school bus.
Because it's not inappropriate.
No, it's
not
not.
Anything bad. It's got like the orchestral parts, which Mozart makes babies smart.
Yeah.
It's classical music. It's good for kids.
So this will make them like hyper geniuses.
Yeah. So then there's like the afternoon, and then there's like evening, and then there's night, and they're all like prefaced, each of these songs, by like the orchestra playing these tracks, and it sounds wonderful. It's really beautiful at times, and it's like one of the first concept albums and one of the first like symphonic rock albums, because like they had a literal symphony behind them.
Yeah.
And there's 2 tracks on that album that have become really famous over the last like 50 years. And it is past 50 years because I saw them last year do the 50th anniversary tour for it, which was great.
Lucky you.
It was real good. Do you know who they had do the narration for it?
Who? No, you told me it was
Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons. Yeah. And you said he did really good.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, nice.
His voice suits it. Like, he's got a great voice. So the 2 tracks are Tuesday Afternoon, which everybody knows.
That is like one of my
Tuesday Afternoon.
I like the full version that then has like like beautiful like orchestral thing,
and then it goes in like the darker part.
Yeah. Oh my god.
when they did it live, I screamed like when they got onto the second half, and everyone was just kind of like,
Yeah, because they don't know that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like singing along to it. I was singing along to like John singing the vocals. And the most famous track they've ever done, which still people listen to nowadays, and you hear on the radio and stuff like that, and hear in movies, is "Nights in White Satin."
Yeah, which is great. It's a great song.
It is a really good song, and it just makes me. I posted this on Twitter recently. It makes me kind of sad that that's what their legacy is.
Yeah,
is "Nights in White Satin." Which is a song, first of all, that Justin Hayward, I think, wrote when he was like 14, 15. Yeah. Which just, I'm like, okay, fuck.
and George Harrison was only 26 when the Beatles broke up. Ain't that something?
Greg Lake wrote Lucky Man when he was 14, or like very young. Fucking Free, Andy Fraser, Paul Rogers, Paul Kossoff. All right, now, they recorded their debut. Paul Kossoff was 19, the guitarist. Paul Rogers was 18.
Oh, my God.
And their bassist, Andy Fraser, was 15.
I feel so
15,
old.
16.
I feel so old and worthless.
It makes you just feel like shit.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what the fuck have I ever done? And these people, like, you listen to the first album, and Paul Rogers is like wailing like he's a fucking 25-year-old
dude,
that's
what I'm like jealous about, like fucking my boy Garrett, who I want to bring him and some of my musician friends on here and have them play some of their music. That guy's younger than me, and like we've been playing guitar for about the same years, and he's fucking a god.
How old is he?
Garrett, maybe he's like fucking. He just turned 20.
Oh my God!
I know, yeah.
I remember the video you sent me, him singing and everything like that, and I was like, oh, he can sing and play guitar.
Oh yeah, ain't that something?
Fuck him.
Yeah, I know. I know, right? Like that's what we're all like. Fuck this. Like, thank God he's like in my friend circle.
Yeah,
that's a that's a money pit right there, baby boy.
I'd love
Joshie's gonna make some bank.
Yeah, I'd love to meet him when sober.
yeah.
So the Moody Blues. So that's they released that album in '67, and they were just like they were set from then on, and then that was Days of Future Past, a really good album, but like the next 3 or 4 albums, I think. So we got Days of Future Past, and then we got Search a Lost Chord, Threshold of a Dream, To Our Children's Children. I think. Oh God, what's after that? Is that? Yes, I believe after that is Question of Balance. So the next 4 albums, and even some of Every Good Boy Deserves Favor, the next 4 or 5 albums they released after that are just golden. Like, they all are great. Like, some albums are better than others, obviously. In Search of the Lost Chord, 1968, I will stand by this opinion, one of, if not the top 3 best psychedelic rock, progressive rock albums of the 60s. Yeah.
That's actually the only Moody Blues. Actually, no, I think I have 2. That's the only. No, I only have the other one's my dad. The only one I have of Moody Blues on vinyl is Search of the Lost Chord. And that's a fucking great album.
It is a great album.
I love
because it has like Ride My Seesaw, which is my favorite Moody Blues track of all time, which apparently was the whole album was inspired by LSD.
Of course it is. Did I ever tell you when I saw them live, their fucking drummer, what's his name? Graham Edge was doing backflips.
No, really?
I'm not fucking making that up at all. He came out, like, everyone was, like, dancing. It was during Ride My Seesaw, too. And, like, he came out and he did, like, 2, and I was like, holy fuck. Like, it was fucking...
Like, he's old and gray.
He's old! And I was like, me and my mom turned to each other, like, what the fuck? But, no, actually, one of my most favorite... I would probably say my favorite is Tuesday Afternoon, but, like, one of my close seconds, if not first... is Melancholy Man. That one's fucking great. The first ever thing I ever mixed on Mixcraft, like, because I was originally going to make a video for this, but I just ended up not doing it because I just liked the mix I did and just kept it like that. I did a mix of Melancholy Man, and I mixed in quotes and clips of Doctor Who, and I was going to make, like, a whole, like, music video dedicated to, like, the sadness of Doctor Who. Yeah. And oh god, that like it. I want to use that song in like when the world's fucking ending. Yeah. That's like that. You just feel like the world is when all the stars are falling down.
That's why I want to use it in the movie that I'm writing.
Me.
Oh, that sounds so pretentious there. In the movie I'm writing.
In the movie I'm writing, I'm using the Moody Blues because it's so sad. It sounded like a pig snort from Little Piggies off the White Album.
So the first time I heard that, I was backstage. Let's say backstage. It was literally a curtain for the kids show that we were touring. It was at a library, and I was listening to The Question of Balance.
Yeah.
And I got through, and I got to Melancholy Man, and I was listening. I was like, oh my god! I was like, this song is like getting me down. It was amazing.
Oh god. Yeah.
And then like I'm writing this screenplay. Oh god, I hate saying that. This script. There we go. That sounds a little better. This script.
We all are writing scripts.
Yeah. About like people dealing with depression and that. And as soon as I started like planning in my head, I was like, I want to end the movie set to someone discovering that someone has committed suicide.
Yeah.
Knowing that that's what they're gonna walk into.
Yeah.
With Melancholy Man playing throughout the scene. And because it's just such a lush and like lush sounding song with these really like sad and melancholy lyrics. And when the first time I listened to it, I was like, wow, this is a really relevant song. As it talks about another man is what you'll see who looks like you, looks like me, but he can't see what you and I can see. And then just like a talk, and was like, this also makes me think of my own depression, and also makes me fear about our current president because he cannot see what we're saying.
I love the Moody Blues. I love all the Moody Blues. I love the Moody Reds, the Moody Greens, so many.
But no, In Search of the Lost Chord, I've been listening to a lot recently.
Yeah. I gotta dig that record back up and start playing. That's a
the opening track, like Departure, where it's the drummer reading the poem.
Yeah.
And it's like he gets more and more like intense throughout. Like he starts off with a whisper, and then he's like, with flowers, with flowers underground that just grow and then burst up through tarmac to the sun again. And fly to the sun without burning a wing, to lie in the meadow and hear the grass sing, to find all these things in our memories hoard, and to use them to help us to find. And he bursts out laughing, and Ride My Seesaw comes in. I played that on the bus for the kids too, and one kid was like, "Can you not play that? That's scary."
Yeah.
And then like the song "The Actor" is really good. The reasons are the same, but there's no one we can blame. I was singing that a lot at rehearsals, and when the girls.
What you're singing, by the way, is very good.
Oh, thank
you. I liked your little bit because Connor was just in a show of 1984. I liked your little bit of like you started singing, and then Josh is like, it was a girl singing, and go, and he starts singing higher.
Yeah. So the show we're doing. Well, I'll talk about that real quick, and we'll go back to music. Is a play version of 1984 where Winston is in room 101. Yeah.
It's also basically like the third act of the movie put into one.
And his diary has been like found duplicated and given to these 4 party members, and they are reenacting the events over the last couple like I guess months.
Yeah.
Or however long the story takes place. It must have been months because when the movie at the very end it said this film was shot from blank of 1984 till like March to
and
April or something like that.
Yeah, and there's even parts when he's in his cubicle, like on the monitors, there's like different dates. Mm-hmm. So like I think it starts in like February and like goes into like the summer.
Yeah, and he said this is it takes place from this time and this time to 1984. The exact like time frame that Orwell wanted for the book.
Oh wow.
So like we're reenacting like these major events in his over the last couple months, and there's a part and like it's very like kind of strange because like it's like you kind of if you don't know what's happening and you haven't read the book, you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But there's a part where Winston's talking about like waking up to the sound of singing, which in the book and the movie is like a prole woman outside of the apartment he's staying in, just hanging up laundry and just singing a song, and he's just kind of like entranced by like the spontaneity and like
just the beauty of like of her like just being who she is.
Yeah. And so I go up and I start singing, and he goes, actually, it was a woman singing, and I like knock up the register. And then Josh and Liam were like, yeah, we were gonna clap, but then no one else was gonna clap, so we didn't clap. And I originally did like a really bad falsetto. It was like, ah! And then I was like, no, I'm gonna just sing up in my higher register, like mixed voice, head voice, and it worked. Yeah, I was singing not Melka, the actor from In Search of a Lost Chord at rehearsal a couple of times, and people were just like, Connor, because I could only remember that part. The reasons are the same, but there's no one we can blame. Na, 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 na. And then like the sound I have heard in your hello, like that part.
Yeah.
And they were like, Connor, stop.
I've been doing, speaking of poetry and quoting it. What
Jesus Christ.
Fuck, Liam? Was that Liam?
I don't know.
What is that?
There's some like crazy sounds going on. I think the alien has found us, the xenomorph. Did I tell you about that?
You saw a xenomorph?
Yeah, we saw a xenomorph.
Yeah, they're real apparently.
we were in Liam's backyard, just him and I.
Yeah.
And we were having a bonfire, and then we heard like this like hissing noise coming from his pool, and he kind of turns over, and I was like, it's the xenomorph. And he was like, don't fucking say that. Now I'm scared to go over there.
Bursts out of the water like in Resurrection. Which is cool because it can swim.
Yeah, and he went over with like the flashlight in his phone. He was like walking over.
But no, speaking of quoting poetry, I've been doing just to keep my voice in that range. I've been doing. I want to tell you about Texas radio and the big beat.
That's
Comes
one
out
of
of
my
the
dad's favorites.
Is it
Ghost
really?
song,
Yeah. Comes out of the Virginia swamps, cool, crisp, and narrow, with plenty of precision. Some call it heavenly in its brilliance. Others mean and ruthful of the Western dream. I love the friends I've gathered on this thin raft.
No, hold on, I can't get that low right now. No, try it 3 times.
It's hard.
Now listen to this.
I'll tell you about the Texas.
I'll tell you about the Texas
radio. I tell you about the hopeless night, the meager food, the souls forgot. I'll tell you about the raw iron soul.
The angel with the raw iron soul.
Yeah, it's fun.
I like the drum solo. Boom. Like with the phase.
Fucking John Densmore, man.
Yeah, I love every member of the Doors. The fucking
and that's one thing I should have said earlier. Fucking like with their live stuff, like on their studio albums, they would hire a bass player, but fucking Ray Manzarek, man, he would do like he would play the low notes for the bass and then like be fucking crazy on the like organ and stuff.
Like that's I was fucking freaked me out like watching like when the music's over.
Yeah,
and he's like doing that. He's doing the
like, Hollywood Bowl one.
While he's doing the and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
The fucking coordination on that is insane.
Yeah, he fucking like, and I think that's what makes him such a great player. Is he was doing like this the bass organ with his left hand, and he was playing like all over the place with his right hand for like the like even Light My Fire. He's doing that.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, like, that's what that's what the quote Jim Morrison said. Like when they asked him, like, what is the Doors? He was like, you see that guy over there? And he pointed to Ray Manzarek. He said, that's the Doors right there. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's kind of true. Ray Manzarek was the one keeping everyone's shit together.
Yeah, he's great. He was,
Rest in peace, Ray Manzarek.
Yeah, great guy. Let me finish up with the Moodies, and then we can just shoot the shit for a bit.
Okay.
But the Moody Blues were great. Justin Hayward was one of my is still really one of my favorite singers. He just had a very nice, soothing voice. He had one of those voices like Greg Lake or John Wetton. John Wetton was a little harsher at times, but it was very like when they sang nice and softly and smoothly. It was very like relaxing. They had like a kind of baritone. Like Justin Hayward was a little higher than Greg Lake or John Wetton. And speaking of Greg Lake, I was talking to kids. I was playing Take a Pebble
nice.
off of the debut on the bus because it was it's mostly instrumental. It's very like calming and stuff like that. And I was talking to kids and I was like, yeah, the man who's playing the piano in this, he was a very talented man. Like he was very like he did some creative stuff. And the kids were asking me about it. I was like, I'll just fucking show you. So like, when we got back to the school,
you were so happy. You love doing that.
I showed like the the cover of Blue Rondo that Keith Emerson does, where like he stabs the keyboard with the knives and like he grabs like the Hammond organ and pulls it on top of him and plays it and then jumps over it. The kids were like, wow.
Oh, dude, that fucking snap you sent me, the kid with the Godzilla toy. He's the coolest kid. Yeah. He's the best. I don't care about the rest of those twerps. He's the coolest.
Yeah, he is great. But I
fucking love Godzilla.
But like no, Moody Blues were great. And they were all very, very multi-talented musicians. So, like, there's a track off of Threshold of a Dream, which is I think my dad's favorite Moody Blues album, and it has a special place in my heart. And there's a suite on it. I don't know what it's called exactly, but it's the poem the Dream, I think.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's called
The Dream.
Yeah.
Then there's Have You Heard Part 1, The Voyage, and Have You Heard Part 2. And that's like I was listening to that to get like into a more like
man.
Like darker place for the show. And it's just like on The Voyage, Mike Pinder's like playing all the mellotron and piano and stuff like that. Justin Hayward and John Lodge are playing fucking cello. And obviously Ray Thomas, the flautist, was playing flute. And then like off of In Search of the Lost Chord.
Yeah.
Justin Hayward's playing sitar. John Lodge is playing cello. Graham Edge, the drummer, is playing tabla, sorry.
Yeah.
And then Ray Thomas still playing flute, and Pinder playing organ, and they're singing vocals on it too. And just like they were very like, I don't think they get enough credit for how creative they were,
they most certainly don't.
And how good their music was, and how like atmospheric and like beautiful it was at times.
Like you're not only composing just like making chords or whatever for your song, you're fucking composing like orchestral movements.
Yeah, like
that's incredibly hard.
Yeah,
like, you gotta know like a lot of music theory for that shit.
Oh, they had to like, and I mean like some of them were classically trained musicians. Yeah. So it was like watching Gentle Giant do like Funny Ways live.
Yeah, and
the keyboardist comes out with the cello, and the bassist comes out with the violin, and you're just like, what the fuck? And then like or even when they do Pantagruel's not Pantagruel's Nativity, the Advent of Panurge, and like everyone but the drummer stops and plays the record.
I think I have that DVD somewhere. I think that was the one I used to watch all the time as a kid.
It's like a TV special.
Yeah,
yes. Like some American TV station.
Yes, yeah.
And it's really funny because after they finish the flute, the recorder solos, Gary, like Derek Schulman, the lead singer, goes woo, and Gary Green, the guitarist, goes. And I'm like, I was like, okay, Gary, when you do like a recorder breakdown in your prog rock song, that doesn't really warrant a afterwards.
Look, man, he's trying to make the recorder cool. That's what he's trying to do. I love that picture of Hunter S. Thompson, by the way.
I was wondering who that was.
I just rewatched. Have you ever seen Fear and Loathing by Terry Gilliam?
I've never. Is it Terry Gilliam?
Yeah, it's Terry Gilliam.
Oh, it makes so much sense now.
Fucking good. Don't ever read any reviews because, like, I don't know why. And I saw the movie before I read any reviews.
I've heard nothing but like stellar things.
Oh,
about
dude,
that
like, like if you look up like fucking reviews of it, like it gets like a 6 out of 10 on IMDb, and it's like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I don't think any of Gilliam's movies get like good
fucking,
critical reception.
They're fucking stellar movies.
But
Brazil is fucking awesome.
Well, I mean, I only heard about Brazil because that's Doug Walker, the Nostalgia Critic's favorite movie, and like I was like, oh, okay. And I've always meant to watch it because I heard it's like a weirder, goofier kind of 1984.
Yeah. It's like it's literally like a Monty Python version of 1984 because he was in Monty Python.
And I've seen obviously I've seen Holy Grail, which he directed. Yeah. I still like Life of Brian better.
I love Life of Brian.
Which was Terry Jones. But he also did. I really want to see The Fisher King, which was Gilliam.
Yeah,
right?
I haven't seen that one. But
I heard that's good. I think that was one of the ones that Robin Williams got a nomination
Zero
for.
Theorem that came out like 2-3 years ago was really good.
What was that?
Really sad. It was just about like aging in like the future and stuff, and it was like it was a little bit like Brazil, but a little bit more like Blade Runner in the sense where it was like it wasn't super far in the future, but like all the things people did, like everything was like app based and all this shit. Yeah, and like it's just about like accepting the world for what it is, and it's always gonna be changing and all this stuff, and just living with loneliness in like a digital world.
Yeah.
It's really good. I love Terry Gilliam, man.
Fun fact: he was the only American, only non-Brit in Monty Python.
Is he not British?
He's American.
Is he really?
Watch like him talk. Like listen to things about him talking. Like I've got I watched a reunion with all the Pythons, all the surviving Pythons.
I think Graham Chapman's the only one that's dead.
They had a little.
I know exactly. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it had his face on it.
Yeah. It was just like
and Terry Gilliam sits down and he crosses like and kicks the thing over, and they're like, "Oh shit!" Like he's like, "Oh shit!" and like they're putting it back in, and then like the guy who's doing the interview is like, "So tell us a bit about like how you boys met each other." And then one of them's like, "Well, I met John, and then he introduced me to Graham and Ed and Eric, and then John, and then Michael Palin goes, No, Eric Howard goes, I'm sorry, who are you? He goes, I'm Eddie. I'm Eddie Izzard." And like, they just brought Eddie Izzard on, and then they're like, "We don't know you. Get off." Like,
that's just confused American audiences that don't know Monty Python.
Yeah, I mean, John Cleese has said like, if Eddie Izzard was born like around the same time as us, he would have been
absolutely.
the sixth Python. He's
Absolutely.
like he is like the sixth Python at this point. Would he be six? Because there were five of them, right? Yeah. Terry, John, Michael, Eric. No, Graham. So there was six. So seventh, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Did you ever watch an autobiography of a liar about Graham Chapman? Oh my god, it's so fucking good. It is like, I guess it's Graham Chapman's book that he wrote before he died. Mm-hmm. And what they did was they took the audiobook recording that he did, which is like vastly different from the actual book, because fucking like John Cleese and all them will come in like during the recording and be like, "Oh, Graham, no, that's not actually true at all. Like this is actually how it happened." And then they got a bunch of like YouTube like animators, well, not a bunch of them. There's just one YouTube animator that I really like, and they animated like things for it, and it's fucking stellar. It is like hilarious.
That sounds great.
Oh, it's really good. It's just basically like Graham Chapman like saying like, "Oh, this is how Monty Python came to be," and it's like I'm like, "No, that's not at all what happened."
Yeah.
And it talks about him like getting fucked up and just fucking people, like and then dying of AIDS.
Yeah, did you hear about the a rumor came out that well, it wasn't a rumor because it was true that one of the Pythons was gay. They received like immense hate mail.
Yeah,
he wasn't public about it. He was like he like it came out and he wasn't like openly gay, but like he was like I.
Oh fuck!
Thanks for ruining the session, Josh.
I had an alarm set for 3:00 today, and I don't know why.
Oh, it is 3:00. I didn't know. All right, but he was like really nervous. Okay. He felt he was like, "Oh God, I feel bad. Like, what are we gonna do?"
Yeah.
And they received one note in particular that said, "I think it's terrible that you have a faggot on your show. I think you should promptly fix this. This is a good show. I think
good wholesome show, which it's like, not.
I'm
at
pretty
all.
sure they said something like that, and they thought it was hilarious. So John Cleese himself responded, said, "Thank you for alerting us, ma'am. We have found the faggot. We have taken him out, and we have killed him. Please enjoy the rest of the show." And then John Cleese left for a bit. So he Eric Idle was like, "Yeah, I often wonder what that woman thought when John never returned from the show the next season."
Oh my god, that's fucking great.
I love Monty Python. I could just do a whole hour talking about.
Oh my god, I've seen that show 3 times around. There's a full playlist on YouTube just for free, and I think it's still on Netflix.
I watched. I don't think it's on Netflix. I have the box set.
Oh, nice.
It was like $100, and then I was like, "Ah, fuck!" But I was watching it on YouTube, and you know how fucking Amazon get really weird, and you'll be watching something or looking up stuff a lot, and then you'll be on a site and it'll have a pop up.
Yeah,
because I was on that guy with the glasses, and then what pops up on the site? It's like Monty Python Flying Circus complete series, $50, and I was like, that's weird. However, and then I clicked on it and it was like, it's reduced to $50, and I was like, yeah, we beauty. So,
oh my god,
I got it. And then but that interview they did with all the surviving members, Terry Gilliam was born in the States. He had British citizenship though because he moved to the States.
That's funny.
To Britain, and he has denounced his American citizenship.
Really?
After
I just thought he was one of those British
or
people.
Maybe he's banned. I forget, because he spoke out, he was very public against with his hatred of Bush.
Oh, okay.
And then they were like, "You can't." He either was like, "I denounce my citizenship."
Gotta hear what he has to say about Trump, because then if he got banned for Bush,
he'd probably
he'd be executed.
I apologize for all the things I said about Bush, and
I thought he was a devil. Didn't realize the super devil was the thing.
But I think it's Eric telling them the story. He was like, "Yeah, we were in Germany doing our comedy tour," and he's like, and we did one. He was like, and we had to get into the border, and they were like, we were having trouble with it. They were trying to check see if we had drugs, and then we were sitting on there, and we were all nervous because we were like, oh well, what if we can't get in and do our shows? And then we spoke to the customs officer, and he spoke to one of our members who spoke German. They were like, yes, well, they're having issues with it. They need to make sure everything's okay. And then he goes, and then Graham just pipes up in the back and goes, "Tell them we're Jewish." And then he's like, and then they let us in.
Oh my god!
I love
it. Graham Chapman is
great.
Tell them we're Jewish.
He has two of my favorite bits on the show, which is he's talking about it's the one with the was it the Piranha Brothers?
Yeah, the fucking gangsters.
Yeah. And he was like Doug Piranha was an he was like, he wasn't a psychopath. He just did things that we only dream about. And then he goes, ah! I'm sorry. It just kills me every time I see that.
Oh my god!
I just don't know what it is. Just that short, fucking non sequitur. He's like, and I'm sorry. And he goes, after all, a murder is only an extroverted suicide. And then where he's like the agricultural minister in a nice frock or something like that, and he's sitting there, and then they're like, so and then we have over here on this chair a nice pile of something brown, a brownish liquid, possibly creosote. Agricultural minister, we want to ask you a few questions. First of all, that's a lovely pearl necklace you have on. Where did you get that from? And he's like, well, and they start talking about stuff, and then they're like, okay, what are your thoughts on this? And he's like, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a sort of high-pitched squeal, which will devolve into a guttural. He's like, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, which is going to start with me talking about nothing in particular. And then I'm going to devolve into a high-pitched squeal, which is then going to go into a low guttural growl. And he just starts talking. It cuts back to Eric Idle, and he's talking. And you just hear in the background,
I would love to see Monty Python do a modern thing about politics now, because oh my god!
They're still touring.
They still do their show and stuff. I would love to go see them, man.
Yeah, I would too.
My still favorite Monty Python.
Sorry, Eric and what was it? Eric and John.
Yeah.
The Eric Idle John Cleese tour. Eric and John together at last. And then one of the reviews was Michael Palin. It's about time these two got together.
My still favorite one, which I think the first time I ever heard it was in the concert for George Harrison, is the song "Sit on My Face and Tell Me That You Love Me." Sit on my face and tell me that you're mine. Life can be fine when we both 69. Sit on my face, and they walk away in the asses are showing.
I think that's the Hollywood Bowl. That show they did.
Yeah.
That's great. They bring on Neil Innes, who was a member of. The Ruttles, which was the Beatles parody that Eric Idle did.
I fucking love the Ruttles.
He was the John Lennon parody,
Yeah.
and he was also in a band called the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band. which was him and a comedian named Vivian Stanshall.
Oh my god.
Just called by Viv Stanshall. Have you ever heard Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield?
Yes.
Do you remember the part like of the end of the first side where there's like he's playing the instruments and then there's a guy going like grand piano, dun 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 dun, dun. Bass guitar. That's
him.
That's him. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then there's like a recording of them walking around Mike Oldfield's house, and Vivian Stanshall is hammered, and he's narrating everything around the rooms. He's like, as you can see here, there's a beautiful ornate vase there that is from the Qing dynasty in London, England. Stuff like that. And he's just like, and it's him, Richard Branson, and Mike Oldfield just walking around the house, and he's like narrating everything he sees.
I might be wrong about this, but did you ever see the Beatles? And I think it was televised, but like the Beatles movie of Magical Mystery Tour.
No,
there's a scene where they go to this like club, like this giant club in the ground, or like in a tent. It's just like a psychedelic mess is the best way to describe it. It's like just music video after music video, and I love it. I love the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour, but I think it is Graham Chapman on stage with this stripper, like dancing and like singing, and he's got like a horrible mustache that's like falling off.
But he had a real mustache. Why did he have a fake one?
I don't know. I think it was before he got a real one. It was because it was the Beatles. I think it was like 67, 68 when it came out. The Magical Mystery... When did Magical Mystery Tour come out? That was like 67, right?
No, because Sgt. Pepper's was 67.
67, yeah. And then...
Right?
Yeah, 67. No, Magical Mystery Tour and Sgt. Pepper's came out in the same year.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
So,
I think Pepper's came out first and the earlier, and then like...
So when did the Pythons start? They started like 68?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Did you ever see... is it... Who's the guy that interviewed Nixon, something Frost?
Richard Frost.
Yeah, Richard
or
Frost.
not Richard Frost. It's David Frost. David Frost.
David Frost.
David
yeah.
Frost.
Do you ever see his like TV show before he became like a serious journalist?
I watched when I watched Frost and Nixon, they have a bit of it, and it's like a game show or something, right? Like it's like some sort of like late night sort of thing.
Well, he did like also a sketch comedy show.
Yeah.
Because he did a sketch. It was very famous, and it had John Cleese, Ronnie Barker, and Ronnie Corbett, who they became a comedy duo called the Two Ronnies.
Mm-hmm.
And it was John Cleese was the upper class, Ronnie Barker, who was like, so John Cleese is real tall, Ronnie Barker's kind of like normal side, and Ronnie Corbett was like, I'm pretty sure legally a midget. He's tiny. And
that's my favorite indie band, Legally a Midget. I don't know if that's actually a band, but it has to be.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
So Ronnie Barker was the middle class, and then Ronnie Corbett was the lower class. Like,
yeah.
And it's just a sketch about that. It's apparently really famous, but like that's like I think the first things that like John Cleese was doing. So and that was like I think like mid 60s. Like that was really early.
Yeah.
For him. Which kind of astounds me that he has had a career that's that long. It always fascinates me when you see musicians and like people in culture who have a strong career from when they start to like now.
Yeah.
Or even like that span over like 30, like 3 decades or something. Like I was talking
like David Bowie.
I was talking about this to my dad, Steve Winwood.
Oh yeah.
So he started off in like Spencer Davis Group. With like give me some lovin', and then like he went at Traffic, which was like late 60s and 70s. Then and he did Blind Faith as well, and then he had his solo stuff in like the 70s and 80s, and he was real big. And I was just like, and then like some stuff in the 90s, and I was just like, God, how fucking crazy is it that this guy started in the 60s, had like a good career in the 60s, went in the 70s, still had a pretty decent career, then in the 80s like. Had like fucking huge pop hits. I was like, what the fuck? And even Pink Floyd, like that was a 30-year, 3-decade long career 60s,
they had. 60s, 70s, and 80s. I mean, that's
I think 60s, 70s. Yeah. Technically 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah. That's one thing that like drives me crazy is like bands and artists who like were from the 60s and then they either died or petered out before the 70s, because 70s Doors would have been fucking phenomenal. 70s Beatles would have been the fucking tits.
Well, you heard what John Lennon said, right?
What?
Well, they were like, what would the Beatles sounded like if you guys had broke
well,
up?
I mean,
And he was like, ELO.
Yeah.
He was like,
Which I fucking love, ELO.
ELO are one of the bands that like they're up there with for me with Queen. It's like you can say like you don't listen to them that much, but if you heard like one of their songs on the radio, you'd be like, oh, I like this song.
Oh my god!
I don't think I've ever
Jeff
met
Lynne's
anybody.
Voice is so fucking beautiful.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met anyone who's like, no, I hate Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah, I'd kill them. They're all dead. That's
like,
why.
I mean, even if you're like, oh yeah, Mr. Blue Sky's overplayed. Evil Woman's great.
Yeah.
I love their cover of Roll Over Beethoven.
Yeah.
It's great.
Rocketeer, or Rocketeer.
Rockeria.
Rock.
Confusion's great.
Telephone Line is still one of my favorite ones. Oh my god.
Strange Magic.
Yes.
God, there was one.
Living Thing. Oh man.
There was one of theirs I was listening to a lot recently. I can't remember what it was, and I was just like, "That's a really good song." Even some of the off of the second album, like is real good. Like, it's some of it's like, just you wouldn't hear it on the radio because it's like their second album's like got like I think one track under 5 minutes. Like it's a long album.
Yeah.
I think there's one on there that's like 10, 11 minutes long. And then the one after that has like all these weird movements and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, fucking ELO or prog. Let's just say that.
Yeah, no, ELO. Yeah, ELO, I would say definitely count as prog.
But yeah, I love Jeff Lynne and ELO. But
what time are we at?
we're an hour 11.
Oh, are we really?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're way over time.
Yeah, so let's wrap up now.
Oh my god, from fucking the Doors to Monty Python.
Yeah, we
Doors to ELO then.
Yeah. So we had a nice long music-based
episode.
episode.
Yeah, which is what the show is supposed to be about.
So we just kind of focused on music a lot and talked about that.
Speaking of which, the music of Monty Python is fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, Monty Python sings.
Yes, that's a great album.
For a while, I was like, I really, really genuinely like Eric Idle's singing voice.
I do too. He's a very good musician. You know, he did the music for. He worked a lot with Harry Nilsson and
on Popeye.
Yeah. But like before that, like they were friends before that.
Yeah. Harry Nilsson's great too.
Speaking of which, I use Harry Nilsson in On the Rocks.
Yeah,
and
is it Without You?
Yeah, Without You. And also speaking of Forever 27, a little hint because I actually don't know if On the Rocks, this version that is going to be released, which is I'm calling the director's cut, will ever be seen by public because I want to take a version. Me and Ben, we're going to take the orchestral stuff that we already have for it, and just have that be the soundtrack for the entire thing, and so we can put that in like into festivals because I just want to have like the full rights on everything. But a little fun fact about On the Rocks, which Liam is in. I kind of hint that he might deal with the Forever 27 Club.
How so?
Well, you'll find that when you watch it.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. And yeah, speaking of which, I'm literally going to go home after this and like try and finish working on it because I'm just doing like color correction and audio. And I'm so glad the thing's fucking done. Like I can
imagine.
Yeah, because I was waiting on just doing that shoot with him like for like months. And like Zach was surprised, like when I came up to him for the show, I was like, "Yeah, On the Rocks is done." He was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just needed those shots, and like you guys were fucking putting me off for like months." But
I'm sorry, man. I was doing rehearsals that night.
Oh no. It's fine. It was very like last minute because I was not expecting getting the equipment at all, and then I got it. And I was like, "Fuck!" And, like,
did you get that program from Hooper yesterday?
No, because he wasn't there. His substitute Casey was, but I'm going there Monday. So
okay,
I told him about it, and he said he can give it to me. So
okay, I'll text you on Monday as well. Oh god, yeah. So let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
So if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Facebook at Conor and Josh's You'll Like 'Em podcast.
Yep.
That's also the name of our SoundCloud page. If you're hearing this like on iTunes or you want to give this to a friend, I don't know. You should know our SoundCloud page if you're listening to us. And our Twitter page is at You'll Like 'Em pod, all one word, no punctuation, no capitalization, anything like that. And my personal Twitter for now, I'm gonna try and change the Twitter handle because I hate it. Is at Keith Moon is God. I think I need to double check that, but and you can find me on there. Like I said, I might try and change that, and if I do, I'll let you know. But and Josh, you want to do your plugs?
So my plugs, it's just basically simple. It's all been condensed. I really don't use Facebook anymore, and I really don't use Twitter that much. If you want to find me on Facebook, it's just my name, Josh Yaskovich. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's JBY Films now. But like the main things I use are my Instagram, which is JB Yaskovich, YASKOVICH, all one word, and my YouTube channel, which will now be having some work on it after fucking years.
Real quick, I've been thinking about changing my YouTube channel to be our official You'll Like 'em channel and uploading some
let's do
the
that.
episodes on there, and we can upload videos and stuff like that. But so and then Josh, you're also on another show?
Yeah, I'm on the show Friends by Default, where we're at the Friends by Default studio here. I hope you like it. I hope you like our concrete mess. Also known as Liam's basement.
Yeah, that sounds better than when we record at my house.
Oh yeah. Well, because we definitely try to like make into like an area here, or at least they did, and I show up sometimes.
But thank you all for listening, and we'll see you guys next time, and I don't know, maybe we'll talk more about music, or we'll just talk about whatever the fuck we're thinking of at that time. Maybe we'll have a specific thing, and maybe SuperMega will get back to us finally.
Yes, we're waiting on that Ryan McGee and Matt Watson.
Come on, guys.
God,
this is the third one, guys.
Driving us crazy.
Yeah,
fucking amateurs.
I saw real quick before we leave on the the SoundCloud statistics. I was like, where has this been listened to? Because I just like to see like if we're reaching a bigger audience than just Westminster. And we've had a couple listens throughout the States. There's our
Are we still huge in Japan?
Yeah, we've got 18 in Japan.
18 listens?
18 listens in Tokyo, Japan. And some in like I think
There's a fan in Tokyo, Japan who really loves prog rock and Blade Runner.
Yeah. Like we've had at least one play in every continent,
other
than like the polls.
Yeah.
But we did get one in Sacramento, California.
Really?
So if that's you guys, SuperMega, thanks for listening.
About fucking time.
Yeah.
It's actually just
when
Ross.
you coming on the show? Oh, he's not gonna listen after the one we put up last week where you like made fun of him for not liking Blade Runner.
Oh yeah, I was like, but like.
So this is.
I love you, but fuck
yeah.
You.
If this is if you did listen, is this your way of saying you are coming on the show?
Yeah.
Keep in touch.
I would love that. What if we actually did get like an email like, hey, just as like a joke, do you want to do like a thing? I would lose my mind. That would be so.
Would be amazing.
That would be great.
That would be amazing. Anyway, thank you for listening, guys, and we'll see you in another 2 weeks.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Goodbye.